Lights, camera, action. Do you have like one of those like paper things that's like, that goes, Foot.
I do actually.
Quiet on the set.
Action.
Action. When is breakfast getting ready?
That's about it.
In the Clark home, kitchen conversations sizzle in life lessons. Handed down from father to son.
Generational wealth is property or money that you pass down for generations to come.
Even at just 10 years old, Jaxton knows.
Okay.
Dreams are free, but wealth takes work. The first step, setting down roots. It's been 4 years since the Clarks bought this Columbia City home.
The homes are selling for over $1 million.
I'll go rinse this off.
Okay.
But while the Clarks were renovating,
Put in a new kitchen.
a home appraiser sent by their mortgage company told them the value of their home had gone down.
My agent asked me, how was the appraisal? I was like, oh, it came in really low. He's like, oh, what was it, 800, 900,000? And I'm like, no, it was in the sixes.
$670,000 to be exact.
It was quite amazing to have an appraisal that low in this neighborhood.
Earlier this year, Seattle real estate prices hit record highs. So Joe's appraisal seemed questionably low. According to Zillow data, the typical home value in Joe's neighborhood this spring was over $900,000.
I just want to make sure that we get the fair market value for the home.
So Joe staged an experiment. He scheduled a second appraisal and asked his white neighbor, Marta Ewell, to be his stand-in.
The objective was to see if you had a person that was not someone of color in the house, change the amount that he got for the appraisal to see if there was some kind of bias there.
Here we have the African art. I took these down as well.
Joe began the process of what he calls whitewashing his home.
This one here is a picture of my grandparents. It's a picture of my daughter at Christmas time. I took them down for the second appraisal.
And this time, when the new appraiser came weeks later, they saw Marta's white face instead of Joe's. The second appraisal came back over $300,000 higher than the first one.
We got the lower price and the neighbor got a higher price than what the house is worth.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
that's a bad thing for us.
Yeah.
I was mad that we had to go through that in order to get him an appraisal that was in line with what the rest of the neighborhood has.
Because it is part of our systematic racism that we have here in America.
We took a closer look into the differences between the two appraisals to find out how they could be so far apart.
It's taken away our generational wealth.
We know appraisals are largely based on what similar homes in the area have sold for, but
there's no set standard of what that is. Where they draw those lines differ.
And that can be a problem. Dr. Junia Howell is an urban sociologist and race scholar who studies home appraisal disparities across the country.
Am I surprised by this case? I've seen a lot of them. They're not an anomaly.
Take a look at Joe's first low appraisal from April. To assess the value, the appraiser chose comparable or similar homes that had sold up to 2 miles away for around $600,000 over the previous 6 months. Now look at Joe's second appraisal. It took into account some homes nearby sold for more than $1 million, including the home right next door to Joe's. Using that critical context to compare, the second appraisal was $300,000 higher.
Homes in communities of color are worth 70% less on average when holding everything else constant as homes in white neighborhoods. It's really insane.
That disparity adds up. A recent study by the Brookings Institute found the appraisal differences amounted to roughly $48,000 per home, or $156 billion cumulatively in majority Black neighborhoods.
Because our Black and brown families' homes are often devalued, they're often taken away from us.
Joe and his family are navigating a system that is deeply rooted in documented racist rhetoric. Appraisal manuals from the 1930s all the way to the 70s had perpetuated the belief that race was linked to value. Look at this manual from 1946. They ranked, in their words, Negroes and Mexicans at the bottom of this list of who brings value to a neighborhood. At the top, white Europeans.
That's racist and historically deeply problematic and contemporarily affecting real people's lives in ways that we can collectively push against and say we want and we demand better.
Such discrimination became illegal under the Fair Housing Act of 1968. But while the manuals may have changed, the diversity of the people determining home values hasn't. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, 96.5% of appraisers are still white.
We have to have those conversations about race that most other white families do not have to have.
He wants me to be successful in life.
We're fighting for the next generation.
For Joe, that means not worrying if the color of his skin will impact the value of what he can pass down to his kids.
So I wouldn't have to struggle or minimize those struggles as a black man in America.
Nice.
Several states and Congress are now considering legislation that would deal with these appraisal disparities. So far, Washington not on that list. If you feel like you've received a biased home appraisal, we have information about where you can report it. Text the word HOME to 206-448-4545. For Facing Race, I'm PJ Randhawa.